All right, so here we go. In three, two, one. Hello, everybody. This is episode 32nd of The Health Show. I'm actually very excited tonight because tonight I'm going to have Dr. Amir Burney on the show. He's going to tell himself who he is, the vast, numerous experiences that he has under his belt, and the kind of inspiration he is. And to start it off, welcome to The Health Show, Dr. Amir. How are you?
Assalamualaikum, and good afternoon, good evening, or good morning, wherever you are. So, thank you for having me, Asad. It's a pleasure to be here.
Same, likewise. So let's just begin. My first question is, who is Dr. Amir Burney? What's your story? And what's your inspiration? What are you all about?
Well, that's a lot of questions in one go, but I'll try and break it up. So, as you rightly said, my name is Amir Burney. I was sort of born and bred earlier in my life in London, in Pakistan. Then I moved to Pakistan when I was about 7 or 8. So my parents moved to the UK many, many years ago. And then my mother was the gynecologist, decided to take us all back when we were very, very young. So we moved to Karachi, and then I think I was about 7 or 6 at the time. So technically, I have two hometowns, London and Karachi. I love them equally. I love Karachi as much as I would have loved any other city in my life. So I'm blessed that I can call Karachi my home as well. So we moved to Karachi. We studied, finished our school, did my medicine in Karachi, Dow Medical University of Health Sciences, as we call it now. And then I proceeded to become a surgeon. I wanted to be a surgeon first, and that was my target. So I became a general surgeon, an orthopedic surgeon. And then some about 18, 19 years ago, I moved back to the UK. And then I went on down the route of medical education, actually, because I wanted to give something back to the system by becoming a trainer or a tutor. So now I am firmly entrenched as a medical educator, as an academic in one of the leading medical schools in the UK as their co-director of studies and their academic lead. So that's my, in a nutshell, in a way, how I sort of progressed from London to Karachi to back to the UK as a full circle of life. Uh, my inspirations are many. I found inspirations not just within medicine, but even outside medicine. And I found inspirations in my friends, senior friends, colleagues. I found inspirations from, people who were leaders, people who do some fantastic work both in Pakistan and outside. If you start to name drop, there are so many people out there who inspired me. But certainly, if I go back a few years, people like Tusapar Eidi, for example, the work they did, people like Nasser Mandela, the works I read, there are so many. On a very close to home, feel of who might have inspired me, I certainly looked at some of my senior colleagues in Dow Medical University, who were great academics, who were great people to begin with. They were great, some really good sports people, and in fact, I'll talk about sports because that's passion of mine. But certain people like Dr. Abdul Bari Khan, who runs Indus Healthcare Network currently, is one of my inspirations because I saw very quietly what he was doing and how he's progressed. And I sort of decided that maybe I should be doing similar things in my life as I become older or more experienced.
Wow, that is huge and that is very inspiration. So my next question is, just to give us the listeners the whole recap of your life. From being born, from then living in Pakistan to starting med school and becoming a doctor. How was all of this? How has been the journey so far? And especially give us all the learnings that you developed along the way.
I think I'm blessed. I must thank Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for what He's given me in life. My parents, obviously, without blessings and the duas, we are nothing. We could not progress like we progressed. So we are blessed, and we should always thank our parents and Allah Subhanahu wa Taala for all His blessings. So when we moved back to Karachi many years ago, as I said, I was very young, so I very quickly adapted. I loved Karachi. I loved the atmosphere. It's a so busy city. So many of my friends and family were there. I did my school there, and from school I went to a local college, and then I went to Dow Medical University. At the time, it was called Dow Medical College in Karachi, and what a happy place it was! It completely transformed me from being a school going kid to local college, and then suddenly you go to Dow Medical University, and the world is your oyster, and you meet so many new friends and so many new people, and you spend 5 6 years or a bit more actually of your life developing these lifelong friendships, and that's what keeps you going, really, isn't it? You have those lifelong friends. Even today, we are connected. Although it's been many years since I graduated from Dow Medical College back in Karachi. In terms of, just let me go back to what you asked about inspirations, and I must say that I found a lot of inspiration in the sports world, and from cricket, from squash. We are blessed with the amazing sportsmen in Pakistan. So my immediate two sporting heroes were Jahangir Khan and Imran Khan. I must say, I love Javed Mirdad as well for his ability to fight back and not give up in situations. So you learn from so many angles and so many people, and slightly wider people like Brian Lara and Steve Waugh from Australia, and then Shane Warne. So because I played a lot of cricket, both at medical school and at club cricket, and even here, I just love these sporting icons and how they tackled, their professional things, and I sort of brought it back into medicine. The lifelong journey didn't stop. In fact, after doing your house job, yes, as you do, I want to live in Pakistan forever and keep going, which I did for a very long time. After my house job, I became a general surgeon in training, and then I went into orthopedics because I left orthopedics. I worked in Karachi Civil Hospital for a very long time before we made a move as a family to come back to the UK many years ago. So I always wanted to learn different skills, and I always wanted to somehow teach it back to the community, to the younger generation. So when I came back, I got the opportunity to work in medical education and develop as a medical educator, and I found that to be a great route. For me personally, it worked very well because now I'm in a position to give something back to the younger generation.
Wow, that is just huge. Thank you so much, Dr. Amir, for sharing that. And so talking about that, you have so many inspirations, you have so many skill sets, you have so many hobbies and passions, and that is just amazing. That is also something very rare in the medical fraternity, and that is what I want to ask you. Um, I believe you're an expert, when it comes to de-stressing. How can our listeners and medics out there stay sane in a very stressful environment?
It's a great question, Asad, and I must say, stress is what we live in currently, and I think we've always had stress. Maybe 20, 30 years ago, I didn't feel it as much being younger, or maybe not being exposed to it as much, and maybe we had a different type of stress. The stress was to get into medical school, perform at the exams, do well at school, and do enough at medical university to get the next job, and so on and so forth. So we had a different type of stress, and because we were collectively living together, working together as students, as friends, we didn't feel it because we always had our friends to fall back upon and somehow de-stress, going out, eating, having lovely food in Karachi, spending time with each other, playing sports, and somehow it sort of disappeared. Sorry, but as you grow older and you start to work alone in your own silo, you probably feel the stress a bit more, and then that is where it is so important to develop some sort of stress debunking, or some sort of defense mechanisms to beat this stress, whether it's inward or outward. So when you say how to deal with stress, yes, I learned it both the hard way and from observing other people, from advice from great mentors, from my trainers as well, as to how to deal with the stress you have as a medic, because you have a great responsibility as a medic. You are looking after people you are trying to heal or help heal, make them feel better. And there's a lot of stress. It's not an easy profession. But having said that, so are many other professions which are also very stressful. You're flying a 777 or 747 aircraft, middle of the night in complete darkness or in storm is equally stressful. I'm sure it is, or being a soldier fighting in an army. So I think we all have this responsibility to somehow work mechanisms into our personality where we can deal with stress. And I always say to my younger colleagues, the medical students I work with, that yes, it's a stressful profession you picked up. Medicine is the longest undergraduate course. It is stressful, but so are many other jobs. Investment banking, and you're sitting on a pot of many millions of pounds or dollars. Certainly, that's stressful. How do you deal with stress is the most important question, and how can you find ways to deal with stress through sports, through engagement with friends, going out, eating out, hobbies. I think hobbies is the key here. Exercising. I think you had a wonderful guest only last week, I heard the gentleman talk about how he used exercise not for himself but also for training and motivating other people. That's a wonderful thing to do. So you made your so somebody can make their hobby their profession is a fantastic way, because then you probably won't feel the stress of doing a job really, because you love that. So when you say stress, I think it's extremely important that you find ways to deal with that stress, whether you're a student or a professional later in your life. I find sports have been completely very in a way affecting me in a positive way, and so has been music, so has been reading a lot. But as I grew older, I think I gave up reading slightly because of the lack of time, or maybe I was doing other things. But sports stayed with me till a very long time, till my joints started to give away. I'm not a spring chicken anymore. But music has stayed with me. So listening to music, or even playing it at times does help me deal with the stress.
Wow. Just wow. Like, I would just want to leave this bit right there. But Dr. Amir, what baffles me and so many people out there is the fact that you, not just a general practitioner, you're way more than that. And in your whole medical journey, how can somebody, being a doctor, being an educator, being a trainer, find time for music or sports and all of these things? How do you do your time management?
It's a good one, isn't it? And I think yes, I think you have to drop something to pick up something in a way. So if I was playing sports, I probably wasn't watching television because there was no time. If I was exercising, going out with my friends, I probably didn't watch enough television. But then there were times when I didn't do exercise because when you're stressed out with exams or preparing for studies, then you probably watch a bit more television and relax that way. So both are absolutely fine, but yes, you can't do everything all the time. So you have to find specific time zones where you can allocate yourself that time, and it's your time, it's your me time, and don't give it up. What I found that when people are junior, or especially junior doctors, we tend to give up the things we love the most when we start to work. So if I was exercising, for example, as a junior doctor, maybe I feel a bit stressed out or even tired, and I come home and then I say, you know what, I don't have the energy to go out exercise or go for a run or a walk. I just order in some food, watch some television, relax, which is fine. But then you start to lose that exercise part of your life, and something else gets filled into that box. So what I would say that yes, to time manage it, there is always time. I think it's this perception that we do not have enough time. But having done a hard day's job, no matter how many hours you do, there's always half an hour in your life where you can exercise or enjoy something you really want to enjoy. So time management is the key. Yes, I understand. As you grow older, maybe as my kids grow older, the responsibility shifts from looking after the kids or doing things at home to doing something for myself as well. So I found some time that way as well. Uh, Maybe sleep a little less, do more work. But you find time. I think you have to really find the time. You have to really make this effort to find the time. Otherwise, it won't come. You really have to find that effort, make an effort to. I need that time. So once you have that time, you can do whatever you want to do with it.
Wow, I feel like this is a very simple but at the same time a life-changing statement that you have time. You always have time. Why? Because even let's say Asad Sultan Khan has 24 hours a day, and so does all the global leaders in the world. Like, name any one of them. So does Dr. Amir. So does Dr. Amir. Like, he has 24 hours a day. Everybody has 24 hours a day. And so how you use those 24 hours is exactly what determines the quality of your life, right?
It is. I absolutely agree with yourself, because, as I said, it's about perception. Yes, we are very, very busy. So are you as a medical student studying. And, when the exams come up, you give up your hobbies for the time being because you've got exams coming up and you want to prepare and do well in the exams, fair enough. But once the exams are over, you can go back to enjoying your hobbies or finding time for yourself and doing things which make you happy as well, and de-stressing, which is very, very important. And the mind and the body need to heal as well. When you do some hard days work, you need to come home and relax and find enjoyment in your hobbies or activities, or playing sports on the weekend, or doing any other thing which you find enjoyable. People find cooking enjoyable, or taking photographs, which is absolutely fine. It's about your mental peace, isn't it? So I agree with you that the perception of not having time is probably what puts us off from doing things we could have done. and I don't want to look back and regret things. I say I could have done this in my life, but I couldn't because I thought I didn't have the time for it.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Amir. My next question is about self-awareness. And I want to really know, about your life. So, tell us about this. What has been your life's biggest failure, and what did you learn out of it?
Now that's a very difficult question because I think rather than having one big failure, you might have a series of multiple failures, and nothing in life is perfect. No one is perfect. And what I did, I heard this beautiful line in Urdu actually from one of the artists performing somewhere on a television show, and he said that या तो मैं जीता हूँ या फिर मैं सीखता हूँ. So I learn from my failures rather than worry about what happened. And I think that's such an important line that you win, fine. If you lose, then you go back and dissect what happened and why did you lose, and what can be done to rectify it in the future. So या तो मैं जीतता हूँ या फिर मैं सीखता हूँ. I just love that line. When you talk about failures, yeah, they can be personal failures, they can be professional failures, or again perceived that you could have done better at things. I think I would say a failure, but what I would say that because of being extremely hyperactive even when I was younger, my focus could have been better on things. I could have focused more on certain things, but I tend to lose interest very quickly, especially when I was younger. It was just my personality. So somehow, if I had developed the ability to concentrate a bit more, learn things with more concentration, maybe that would have been my uh, one thing I would like to go back and change in terms of how I could have concentrated a bit more, other than just getting distracted very quickly. But that was my personality type, I suppose.
Wow. Thank you so much for sharing that. So my next question is about something that I think is not talked about enough. I think mental health is not talked about enough. It's not given the due attention it deserves. I mean, it's not even taken seriously. And even if people are talking about mental health, what they do is basically they're focusing on the problem itself, and nobody's focusing on the solution. Like nobody's telling, it's okay to build a culture where you have to go to therapy, and it's okay because just like you go to the gym to build your mind, it's okay to go to therapy to build your body and your mind, exactly, mental health. So
Mhm.
my question is, what do you think about all of this? What do you think about all the stigmas attached to mental health, and what's your take into mental health?
But yeah, you're right. There are stigmas attached to it, and, no, and I'll tell you from experience, not just within one country or communities across the world. It's global, and we are blessed that we have friends and colleagues who look after us or who are there for us when we need them. But many times it's just picking up that courage to say, I need help. And sometimes, it's not possible for whatever reasons. But again, one of my very good friends who's an very, very accomplished psychiatrist told me many years ago that Amr, it's okay to say you're not okay. And having the courage to say, I need some support or help. But mental health is a key component, and especially I feel in these current times, because of the pressure of social media, the things you see, and the competition levels have grown to a exponential level. And maybe it is a contributory factor from what we see, and we all adapt to try and be like those people when we can't, and it puts pressure on us. There's pressure to perform, in studies or in jobs or other places, and suddenly those pressures they build on you. And uh, and I believe that no matter how tough you think you are, we only have to look inwards and realize, yes, it's not really good for me. But what do I do with it? So what do I do with it is a big question. Taking that first step to say I need help or I need some support. It's not easy for many people. It wasn't easy for me at times. But you either be strong yourself individually, find a way through it. For us, I believe in my religion completely and totally. I've found such fantastic solace in religion, and the ability to pray and just to connect, or you can talk about meditation or whatever makes your mind come to a certain calmness level. Suddenly, when it gets just beyond that level where you think you can't cope, if you think you need help, then you certainly should go get it. Whether it's personal help or professional help, it doesn't matter. But I think there are stigmas attached to this day and age, which is a bit which is a bit sad, really. We live in such a diverse, such an educated society, and to have any stigmas attached to mental health really should not happen.
Wow, thank you for sharing that, Dr. Amir. My next question is about something that I feel like is another dimension of the whole inspirational things that you do. So I'm talking about charity and all the charitable work that you do. Tell us about that and everything else that you do, and more importantly, why do you do it?
Hmm. Now, the why is a good question because people do ask us, and why do you want to do things when you could be doing something else? Why volunteer your time, your efforts, your money even at times? And I do believe that no matter what age you are, if you can give something back to the communities you live in, you should. Uh, I think there is a culture or a principle of social accountability. So when I believed that I was in a position to give something back, could be on an individual basis to help somebody in the community, or on a collective basis, part of bigger charity groups, or helping raise money for charities that I believe in. It's absolutely fine. I think it's my responsibility to give something back to the communities, both here and in Pakistan. Now, how do you do it? Yes, that's something which you have to think about, and who do you work with. It all comes with networking and your trust with the people you work with, who you trust, with charity you can work with, or who do you think are the right people you can work with. So why do I do it is a question. I think it is very addictive. I must be honest. When I see people getting benefit through charitable work, when I see our little efforts can make a little change somewhere. I think that's such a it is such an addictive thing. It's such a positive thing. It makes me feel so happy about things that I made an effort and somebody somewhere in the world got some benefit from it. We can't change the world, but we can change the world collectively. So if we come all together, we will make a change. One person cannot make a change. We need a whole lot of us coming together, but one person can lead a change. So what I believe in, when I saw people who do a lot of charity work in Pakistan, a lot of charity work in the UK, and they do it selflessly, they do it in their own time, and they are so committed to it. You observe them and you learn from them, and you think, why are they doing it and why can't I? And so when I came to that age or that stage in my life where I had the time, or where I had the energy, or maybe in fact the knowledge and the network as well, to actually to help people, then I started doing it.
Wow, thank you. And can you like tell us explicitly about what kind of charity that you do, like where and how does it affect people? What's the impact that it's creating basically?
Well, without naming many charities, I work for a number of charities. I mostly work as a worker for them. I don't run the charity myself. I do whatever they ask of me. So, for example, if I was to do a fundraiser for a charity in my city here, I would do it for them. You get people in, you raise awareness about the cause they are working for, and then you ask them to donate the money or their time towards that particular charity. So a number of charities I've been working with. In fact, my alumni medical college at our Medical University of Health Sciences, as you call it, Dugane, Dogane, which is the Dow Graduates Association of Northern Europe, is a charity, registered charity here. So every year we work for it. I'm part of the executive team, for example, and it's doing wonderful things. It's giving back something to locally in Civil Hospital Karachi, but that's where it's concentrated. Uh, um, as a fundraiser worker, I do work for the Indus Healthcare Network in Pakistan. So we are based in the East Midlands, as we say in the UK, Nottingham, Leicester, and the other parts of the East Midlands. And we work as a team to help Indus Healthcare Network raise as much money as we can for them, because they're doing some stellar stuff in Pakistan. Locally as well, in the UK, there are some charities I work for. Again, if they have an events, I will try and support them by one, to be there and to donate, but also to try and raise awareness about those charities.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Amir. I wish you the best of luck and all my support for all the times to come. Um, so my next question is the most exciting question of the whole show, and it is this. Dr. Amir, if you had all the time in this world, if you had all the money in this world, and if you had all the energy in this world, what would you do specifically to do anything, to keep yourself healthy? What would you do and why?
Are we talking myself or for somebody else? The question just repeated. I think you broke up slightly there.
Oh, okay. So if you had all the time, energy, and money in this world to do anything to keep yourself healthy, what would you do and why?
To keep myself healthy.
Yeah.
It's a tricky question, really, because I'm not sure whether having all the money in the world will give me the solution to my problem. Really, I think there's more to. I think it's a multifactorial thing that you with not just one component. Having all of it will make a drastic change to my life. But on a slightly, on a slight lighter mode, I would say, and if I had the opportunities again, I would have. Maybe looked after myself more in terms of physically. I would have wanted more physical stuff and then maybe have a more healthier lifestyle. But it's such a difficult question to give an answer to. So they put me on the spot here. But if I had all the energy and the money and the opportunities, rather than do anything for myself, I would have done it for something else. That's what I could easily flip around. Say, I would have done anything for anybody if I had the opportunities. As I see many people doing great stuff. From across Europe to America to Pakistan, they're doing such amazing work, charitable work, that sometimes you do think, if I had the resources, I would have been doing those things. So for me, I think I would have been doing non-stop charitable work if I had all the resources and the time and the money at my disposal.
Wow, that is just huge. Thank you for sharing that, Dr. Amir. My next question, since you're an expert at the health show, and you're an inspiration to so many people. Not just in Pakistan, in the UK, in the US, in the rest of the world. There's a lot of people who look up to you. I personally myself look up to you, and want to learn a lot from you. And I'm just excited to ask you this question. What do you think is necessary to make, or to is required to be the best doctor? What would you call the best doctor?
Uh, Okay, I would actually expand and say health professional, because I think of my colleagues, the nurses, the paramedics, the pharmacists, people I work with. They're just fantastic people to work with. So health professionals, yes, and specifically doctors. I think all of us need a lot of uh, empathy. We need to be able to empathize. We need to be able to be good communicators. We need to have those communication skills where we can actually inform our patients or our teams as to what we are thinking, what we are doing. The knowledge, the skills, and the professional behaviors come. They come with training. If you study hard, you get the knowledge. You work hard, you get the skills. And as you see your mentors or your immediate superiors, you start to imprint their professional behaviors. So those things are obviously very, very necessary for any job, really. But as a doctor, I think the ability to empathize, the ability to um, try and understand. You cannot do it completely, but maybe to some level to understand how the other people are feeling, and how to look after them. Because you must understand, as a medic, you not only are looking after a patient, but you also are looking after a family, isn't it? In a way, so many people are connected to the patient. So a doctor becomes more of a community person, especially my friends and colleagues who are in general practice, both here and in Pakistan, family medicine. They probably will identify this, because they tend to work with the whole family and not just with the patient at times. So I think the key things which any doctor or any health professional should have is the ability to empathize, the ability to be a good communicator, develop the knowledge, the skills, and professional behaviors required for their specific job.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Amir. So you're an expert at the health show. It's very important to have you here, and it's very important. It's more important to ask you this question, and that is about sleep, health, and diet. And I'm going to take those one by one. So first of all, if you could share any key insights for a better sleep, what would you say?
Well, you're probably the wrong person. I'm the wrong person to start, because I'm guilty of not sleeping very well, and mostly in the recent years, I must say, last 10, 15, 20 years. I think it's just because my life got busy and busier, and my sleep pattern became slightly more disturbed, I must say. So yeah, as I said, it can happen to anybody. As a student, I remember sleeping for hours. There was no greater joy than to, going back to Karachi, for example, playing night cricket on a weekend and sleep all the way through Saturday, because you had the day off, or chilling out. And my mom and dad would say, been sleeping for 12 hours. And as a young person, you got away with it because they would let you. And now I would find a 12-hour sleep the luxury of my life because I would sleep like 5 6 hours. 6 hours would be a very good sleep for me these days. But I think I'm not an expert in sleep or diet or exercise, but what I would say is that yes, I always believe a healthy pattern is the right pattern. I am guilty by not sleeping enough, but I think I should. 8 hours or 7 to 8 hours is what people do recommend, and that's what it should be. One thing I've noticed that previously when I used to read before going to sleep, that time. Now it's my phone in front of me, or sometimes just catching up on work on your phone because your phone or your social media is taking over your life, even my life at my age. And I feel that many of us are spending a lot of time on looking at the screens late at night. But it's very difficult to get away from it because it's just there, and you want to. You're so inclined to pick up a phone and do one last message before you go, or check one last email, or do something on social media. So sleep, I think, is extremely important because, as we all know, as you need to heal physically, your mind also needs to heal, and sleep is where these things do happen. So find your own way. I suppose find your own way of sleeping 6 7 8 hours, whatever makes you feel refreshed in the morning.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Amir. I'm also happy that I get to have around 8 hours of sleep. Like that is too much. I also believe I can go away with six, but it's
Mm.
definitely a luxury, no doubt. My next question is about diet. So if you could share any insights about the diet, from the people that from your all experiences, from your own experiences, what would you say?
I love food, so I'm a big foodie, I will admit. And I've always loved food. I will try anything once. I just, as you grew up in Karachi, and if you've been to Karachi, you probably know
Definitely.
Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Rawalpindi, wherever you go in Pakistan, we are blessed because Pakistan's got such a diversity of people and food and other cultures that when you are traveling in Pakistan, you find such fantastic food. You can't stay away from it, and really you should not be because it's there for you to enjoy. Yes, we do cross the boundaries. I've always had more food than I should have had, especially when you're tired after a long day. So I'm very tempted by good food. Having said that, when I was younger, probably because I was younger, the ability to burn it off easier was my metabolism was higher, quicker. I didn't feel it, but and I was playing a lot of sports as well as a young person, so I I could burn off the food I felt by exercising for as many hours or whatever. But when I hit the dreaded 30 in my age, I felt the change. Between 30 35 of years of age, I started to feel that I could not burn up the food I was eating as much quickly as I used to when I was in my 20s, which is fair enough. But I remember that I became slightly overweight in my 30s. Not fat, but I sort of put on a lot of weight, and I was playing a lot of cricket at the time. So it helped me because I got muscular and heavier, so I was hitting the ball harder or playing better. But I just knew that that wasn't my body shape. And then when I came back to the UK, I realized that eating in moderation is probably the way, and should be the way because eating healthy and in moderation and enjoy binging out, as you say, on a weekend. Go and have whatever you want to have on a weekend. But eating healthy right through the week is key. I did a sports and exercise medicine masters here as well in Nottingham, and that's where I actually learned a lot more about foods and food types and how sports people eat. And I'll share a little funny story with you. Actually, it's just not funny. It's actually a great story. I started to learn squash as a young person, and that's the only sport I've learned from a coach right from the beginning. And my coach actually said to me when I'm talking the 90s. He said to me, Dr. Saab, what he noticed that when some of these players he was training or working with, they stopped eating a lot of carbs before a big tournament,
Hmm.
and they lose a lot of weight. And there's something to not eating bread and roti, as we say. Maybe you should drop that and see and eat something else. So I started going on this self-made diet of fish and meat and lentils and chickpeas. And I learned it because a coach who did not know much about diet, but he knew that it worked. He told me, and I used my sort of my whatever my limited medical knowledge was at the time to work out the calories and develop a diet for myself. So what I do now know that dieting doesn't work. and because I've done a lot of exercise and diet, eating healthy works. So you have to eat healthy, you have to eat in moderation, and then exercise, and then you know people can change their body shapes, lose weight, but dieting. Going on binge dieting or dieting for 15, 20 days and then then going back to normal eating probably doesn't work. And having said that, again, I was guilty of trying every diet out there because when you exercise, you're slightly obsessed about body shapes and weights. You want to look good or feel good. But I think with what I've done with experience, that dieting alone will not work. You eat right and you exercise.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that, Dr. Amir. Um, my next question is about exercise. And since you have a degree, you have expertise in sports medicine as well, what would you recommend? Obviously, it depends for every person. If somebody's obese and overweight, it's gonna have a different exercise regimen. For somebody who's skinny, he or she has gonna have a different exercise regimen. But what would you say to all those people who just want to start their physical health journey? What would you tell them to have a best possible exercise routine?
Well, again, talking from personal experiences here as well, I think you find your own exercise regimen. Don't try and copy anybody else because you, as you rightly said, you have your own physical capabilities and your own body shapes and your own muscle mass, for example. So, so do what you can do. Uh, Take expert advice. If you are going into serious exercise or serious sports, I think you should always have expert advice, whether it's your local coach or people who know about these things, or your doctors, for example. So it's very important that you know who you are in terms of what you can do, and then slowly and gradually build on it. It won't happen in a day. You know this. It will take a few months or years even for you to change body shape or to become healthier. I think what's more difficult is actually to once you've reached that level to stay on that level. I think consistency becomes very difficult, and we've already talked about the food in Pakistan and elsewhere as well. The temptation is also out there to go and eat and drink or have a mango shake or a lassi in Pakistan. It's there. You should not deprive yourself from those things. But the thing is, you do them in moderation. And I found it very difficult personally to stick to a plan for a very long time. So my advice to people who want to exercise diet is to look at themselves first in terms of what are achievable goals. Take expert advice from the people they work with, or the doctors or the people who are engaged in sports and other activities, and then take it gradually and stick to it, which is the hardest part. Sticking to any plan is the most difficult part. I think getting there is not that difficult. Once you are there, and then staying on that path is more difficult.
Great. Thank you so much for sharing that. My final question to you, Dr. Amir, is this. What is that one thing that you want to leave the audience with today? And after that, you can also share anything that you want to share um,
Yeah.
during our whole conversation, anything that popped up into your mind.
Fantastic. Well, I've always told people that if I can, you can. So now I always said that if I can achieve what I achieved in spite of my, failings in life, or in spite of the fact that I could have done better, I got to places where I got to. And having said that, I must thank Allah Subhanahu wa Taala and my parents for their blessings, because without that, I would not have achieved half of this. Uh, my message to people is that always trust in yourself, always believe in yourself. Things will happen. They may not happen today, they may not happen tomorrow, but they might happen 2 or 3 days later. So we all have our own learning curves, we all have our own destinies or fates if you believe in them. And you just work to your mission, you just work to your aims and objectives, and you will achieve them. Don't compare yourself to anybody or everybody. As I said, medicine especially, even other professions, it's not a 100-meter dash. It's a marathon. Everybody finishes the line, and that's what you're after. Whether you finish it in 24 hours or you finish the line in 3 hours or reach the line in 3 hours, doesn't matter. Your aim should be to finish that line. So my message to most of my younger colleagues listening in is to believe in yourself, and if people like myself can do, I'm sure you will do it, and I'm sure you will do it better than I did it.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. Is there anything that you want to share? Anything out of the blue?
What I would like to share is that through this wonderful world of social media and the unfortunate circumstances of COVID 19. And before actually I say anything more, I must say with the COVID 19 crisis circumstances, my thoughts and prayers are with all those who have lost their loved ones. And also those friends and colleagues and other people still out there who are still very unwell with COVID 19. So my prayer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is to give them complete recovery, shifa kamil, as we say, and make them healthy and better. And for those who have lost their lives, may Allah give them the highest honor possible in the afterlife. Ameen. Uh, so just some final thoughts really. As I said, I've already mentioned that look for inspirations in your life. There's always one inspiring person or two in your life around. And again, you don't have to go looking for sports people or world leaders or politicians. The inspiration might just be locally, within your own neighborhood. You might find somebody who is an inspiring person. Look at them, learn from them, and they might just give you that extra thing to think about, which might just be something which you want to hold on for the rest of your life. I've learned from my friends, colleagues outside medicine even. There's so much I've learned from people who are not medics and how they've dealt with so many things in their lives. So always be on the lookout for finding good people. Be positive. Do not surround yourself with negativity. I think that's the worst thing you can do. Always look for positives and always try and be positive yourself. Help people. No matter what age you are, there's always somebody who you could help. And once I think somebody asked me that I'm only 21, how can I help people? I said, you can teach somebody else. You can volunteer time to teach a student in school or take somebody under your wing and teach them. Even in medical school, senior medical students can teach a junior medical student, and they do peer teaching society. So there's always something you can do to help people. So right now you might be very, very busy because of your job, your career, your young life, family. But as you grow older, always think of you want to give something back to the society.
Great. Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. Our conversation has been very valuable and extremely insightful and very inspirational for me. Personally, I would want to go back 2 to 3 times after every week to watch everything that you just said, what you just shared. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you so much, Asad. And I must say one more thing, that never give up your hobbies. So whether it's music, art, sports, reading, cooking, photography, as it, no matter what profession you are, always stay with a hobby. That's extremely important. Don't give it up. And thank you again, Asad, and thank you to the Health Show for having me today.
Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. It has been a pleasure. Have a nice day and Allah Hafiz.
Allah Hafiz to you.
All right. So I've ended the live video. Thank you so much, Dr. Amir. It has been a pleasure.
ठीक है सही था all right